Torrential rain, flooding, tornadoes. News Channel 3's Storm Ready Special starts now. Sponsored by Roach, the big name in roofing.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Storm Ready Special. I'm Chief Meteorologist Keith Thompson, joined here in the studio by my fellow members of the News Channel 3 Weather Alert team, meteorologist Jeff Porter, meteorologist Will Haney, and meteorologist Colin Rogers. And of course, we thank you for joining us for our program.
And we've got a jam-packed half-hour special. We're super excited that you're with us. Here are just a few of the things coming your way, how alerts have changed over the years. Secondly, how the National Weather Service decides what a tornado looks like and what straight line winds look like, plus how the strength of a tornado is measured. You're going to listen to one person's story, someone who survived getting struck by lightning, and then get the summer outlook from our team right here at News Channel 3. Now, to get us started, let's go to Chief Meteorologist Keith Thompson, who's standing by with one of the most important things to know to be storm ready. Keith?
Yeah, you know, that's right, Jeff. We really sort of have to start off with knowing the difference between a watch and also a warning. One means be ready. The other means take action. A tornado watch, for example, means that conditions in the atmosphere during the watch period are favorable for thunderstorms, which could produce tornadoes. And that means be ready. Know what you'll do. Know where you'll go if tornado-producing thunderstorms occur. And by the way, tornado watches are issued by the Storm Prediction Center, a part of the National Weather Service. They're located in Norman, Oklahoma. Now, a tornado warning is much more serious, and that demands immediate action. A tornado warning is issued when a tornado is known to be occurring because it's been spotted or it's indicated on radar. And if you're in the warning area, you need to take shelter in a safe place immediately. And those warnings, by the way, are issued by the local National Weather Service office. A tornado emergency is rare, and it is reserved for the most serious of situations. It means the threat to human life from tornadoes is severe, and catastrophic damage is likely occurring. So if you're in a tornado emergency, it is critical that you take action immediately. Will?
Yeah, Keith, even if a storm isn't producing a tornado, it can still be very dangerous, of course. So what makes a severe thunderstorm severe? Well, the base threshold for a severe thunderstorm is wind gusts at least 58 miles per hour and or hail at least 1 inch in diameter. It's at those specific thresholds that we start to see damage to things like your car, a roof, siding. And in the alert itself, you may sometimes see additional wording to describe the storm's intensity. A considerable threat is hail at least golf ball size and wind gusts at least 70 miles per hour. A storm receives a destructive tag in the warning at baseball-sized hail and or 80 mile per hour wind gusts. This, of course, would trigger a wireless emergency alert on your mobile device, similar to a tornado warning. We'll have more on how you can protect yourself from severe thunderstorms and tornadoes coming up.
And when there is the threat of severe thunderstorms or tornadoes, having a way to receive alerts is crucial, but you shouldn't just rely on one way to get those alerts. That eerie sound of a tornado siren may be a thing of the past in some localities, but others think the warning their sirens give outweighs the cost.
For the city of Kalamazoo, we're not going to get rid of our sirens. We are concerned about those that are outside most of the time. You know, the unhoused population, we want to make sure that they have a good warning system.
In some cases, tornado sirens can be the first thing that notifies you of an incoming dangerous storm.
And I know that alerts will come across your phone, but if you're playing sports or something like that, then you're not going to get notified right away. And in the event of like a tornado, you want people to know immediately to take cover.
While tornado sirens are one way of communicating danger, it should not be the only thing you rely on during severe weather.
And a lot of times they are not heard indoors, and that's where the other avenues of getting alerts kicks in.
This test coincides with the voluntary statewide tornado drill.
The EAS and WEA systems are how many people receive alerts. These national warning systems will send an alert to TV, radio, cable, and satellite services, as well as your mobile device.
Wherever you are, even if you're not home, if you're on vacation or something, because you're hitting off certain towers and they fall within that scope of where the threat is, your phone will go off immediately.
On nights when severe weather is possible, it's important to have something loud enough to wake you up.
North winds 5 to 15 miles per hour.
That's where a NOAA weather radio comes in handy.
We have one here in our Emergency Operations Center. We have one in other locations, and it will go off if there's a threat. Those cost probably $30 to $40.
And of course, you can always download the free News Channel 3 Weather Alert Network app. It will alert you if a weather advisory, watch, or warning has been issued for your area. And you can also track storms in real time with radar on our app.
Colin, thank you very much. When we think about your family's severe weather plan and where you would go during a severe thunderstorm or tornado warning, the first place that comes to mind naturally is going to be the basement. Without question, that is the safest decision always. However, not everyone has a basement in their house or place of work, and in these situations, you want to find an interior room surrounded by 4 sturdy walls. Preferably, this is going to be the lowest level of your house or your place of work, and the bathroom would be a great place to weather a storm if it's located in the interior part of your home. It's important to stay away from all windows. It's also important to think about ways to protect your head, which could include, putting a mattress or pillows on top of you. And a bicycle helmet is a fine way to protect your head and most importantly, your brain. Now, review your severe weather plan with your family and review it more than once so there's no indecision in a severe weather moment. And lastly, keep your windows closed. Opening them to reduce or release pressure in your house is just a misnomer. Will?
Yeah, Jeff, it is. And some sobering facts for you now. According to the National Weather Service, just under 40% of all tornado fatalities happen in a mobile or manufactured home. So if you live in one, you're 15 to 20% times more likely to lose your life in a tornado compared to a permanent structure. I spoke with the Kalamazoo County Emergency Manager, Mike Korfman, about why that is, plus how those in manufactured homes can prepare.
You need to get to that safe space if you're in this area, and you need to do that right away.
Get to the lowest floor, most interior room. The messaging you hear during storm coverage. Mobile and manufactured homes, however, present their own set of challenges.
In a lot of the older communities and a lot of the older homes, they just aren't anchored that well to the pad or to the ground. So we find that they just have a tendency to blow over and maybe roll over. And if you're in there, you're rolling around in there and you could easily be injured or killed.
Mike Korfman is the director of Kalamazoo County Emergency Management. Anchor system failures cause a majority of tornado fatalities involving manufactured homes. Korfman says newer models are constructed and anchored better than decades ago.
We're finding that the construction of the newer homes are really helping out from a storm damage perspective, along with the rules that say they must be anchored properly to the ground.
When it comes to severe weather, it takes another level of preparedness if you live in a mobile or manufactured home. It all starts with being weather aware.
It doesn't matter where you live. Everybody should be taking precautions when severe weather is a potential for the day. First, you want to monitor. Make sure that you know if and when severe weather is approaching or is imminent.
Here's what NOAA and FEMA both recommend if you live in a mobile or manufactured home. The day before tornadoes could strike, it's important to go over your plan and communicate with those involved. Experts recommend evacuating to a safer structure before severe storms hit. This might be a family member or friend's home, or maybe even a public building. Some mobile home communities may even have a community building or office for sheltering during severe weather. Now, day of, when a tornado warning is issued, it's time to execute your plan and get to your safe place. In many cases, by the time a tornado warning is issued, it might be too late to safely evacuate. Jeff?
Will, thank you for that really good information. We appreciate you. And, have you ever wondered how meteorologists with the National Weather Service decide when storm damage is caused by straight line winds versus a tornado? Coming up, we find out how surveyors confirmed last month's storm north of Marshall actually produced a twister. And now, before we take a break, let's test your Michigan tornado knowledge. Here we go. We hope you're ready at home. How many tornadoes does Michigan see on average in a given year? Here are your choices. Is it 17, 32, 6, or 13? The answer when we come back.
You're watching News Channel 3's Storm Ready Special, sponsored by Roach, the big name in roofing.
Welcome back. Before the break, we asked you this weather trivia question. How many tornadoes does Michigan see on average in a given year? The answer is 13. That's a 30-year average, by the way, from 1993 to 2022. And you can see here how that number can fluctuate quite a bit from one year to the next. Michigan saw 19 tornadoes, by the way, in 2023, but only 3 the year before. Now, with our average of 13, Michigan typically sees less tornadoes, actually, than our neighboring states. states. Illinois ranks first of any Great Lakes state, averaging about 56 twisters in a calendar year. Both Wisconsin and Indiana see about half that. Now, our slightly lower tally is thanks to our latitude and proximity to Lake Michigan. During the spring and summer months, Lake Michigan's colder water helps act as a stabilizer, and this makes it harder for tornadic storms to make it across the lake. And we're approaching the seasonal peak in tornadoes, by the way, across the region, which is typically May and June. And while most tornadoes happen in the afternoon and early evening, it's important to note they can happen at any time. Most of the tornadoes we see are lower end EF0s and EF1s, but that's not to say that we don't see those higher end tornadoes as well. Our severe weather season got off to an early start, of course, this year at the end of February. Jeff?
Will, thank you very much. Severe weather season started early in West Michigan with a late February EF1 tornado in Marengo Township near Marshall and powerful straight line winds in and around Lawton. Now, how the National Weather Service determines what kind of storm, tornado or otherwise, comes down to two key factors. The final hours of February produced an EF1 tornado near Marshall, Michigan. It was on the ground for 5.5 miles and devastating straight line winds in the Lawton area.
Over 80 years old, there was 2 trees on that side of the driveway, 2 tall pines, beautiful pines, and they had to be 20 to 30 foot tall. And they both uprooted. They didn't split, they didn't crack, they didn't tear apart or nothing. They actually uprooted and came across the drive.
These were Carol's fallen evergreens immediately after the storm.
By about 11:40-ish, I heard the stuff on our deck start to move. Got up, came down. Our glass tabletop that was on there slammed against the wall and shattered. Fortunately, it didn't break the window. We just got lucky that the trees did not hit the house, because one came kind of close there and would have done a lot of damage.
Much like the investigators on CSI on CBS, meteorologists comb through storm damage to determine what kind of storm transpired and its level of severity.
When we heard this damage, we thought, well, it could be tornado or it could be downburst type damage, because if you looked at the radar, you could see the center of rotation, the rotating updraft, usually underneath where you get the tornado, pass north of here.
Ernie Estuno is the lead forecaster for the National Weather Service in Grand Rapids. Ernie has been at the office since October of 1999.
So when I do a survey, what I'm looking for, number one, you're trying to find the upper bounds of the wind speed based on the damage you're seeing. Second thing you're doing is trying to verify whether some of that debris was lofted downrange, whether you had the trees falling in, usually crossing what we call convergent type damage.
In the Marengo Township tornado, you had instances of lofted debris and other telltale signs of rotation, like this sign that's not only bent, but also twisted where it meets the ground.
Sometimes you'll see the metal roofing up in trees. That tells you that debris got lofted, got lifted way downrange. The little trampolines that people have in their backyard, a lot of these weak tornadoes, you'll find those a couple miles away. Calf cribs out in farm country, you'll see the calf crib go airborne.
Ernie explains why early season severe weather preferentially affects evergreen trees versus deciduous trees.
Obviously, we have some termite damage and rot in here. This is not healthy wood, obviously. So this tree was partially hollow. The other thing we noticed about this tree, it's a spruce tree, it's an evergreen. This time of year, your deciduous trees don't have leaves on them. There's not as much drag force that's going to help snap that tree or uproot it. The evergreen trees, though, do have that drag force, so there's a larger area that the wind is working on. It's an exponential increase.
This large metal barn door was ripped off in the destructive straight line winds, which happens to be Carol Wilder's daughter's property.
You see a mix of rotten trees, but big healthy limbs. That puts it, you know, probably in the 60 to 70 mile range. If we get up into 80, 90, usually you start seeing most of the big healthy trees coming down.
Surprised at all that none of the power poles come down, yes or no?
Power poles are interesting. If there's a sustained wind, usually on the order of 80 miles an hour or more, you'll start to see them snap. So that's another kind of line we look
Threshold,
at. Right, if we're looking at power poles and a lot of big healthy trees, we're usually up in that 90 mile an hour range. So you're starting to get up into what we call EF1.
Okay, number one, we want to thank lead forecaster from the National Weather Service in Grand Rapids, Ernie Astuno. Second, in storm surveys, meteorologists are looking for the presence of lofted debris down trees that are convergent or cross over each other. Now, in the absence of those ingredients, the most likely declaration is going to be straight line winds and not a tornado. Colin.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. And the folks at the National Weather Service are no strangers to surveying tornado damage, and some very strong ones at that. One of the most devastating tornadoes in the U.S. occurred near Flint in Beecher, Michigan on June 8, 1953. Still to this day, that is the deadliest tornado in Michigan history, as it killed 116 people and injured over 800. That was one of two tornadoes rated an F5 in the state, the other occurring right here in West Michigan. That tornado touched down near Hudsonville and lifted near Standale. It killed 17 people and injured 340 on April 3rd of 1956. Now, 9 years later, several tornadoes tore through Michigan on Palm Sunday. And the worst destruction was in Branch County, where two F4 tornadoes tracked within a mile or so of each other in less than 1 hour. Now, several people who were hit by the first tornado had to take cover from the second tornado. And of course, in Kalamazoo, May 13th, 1980, a date that many will remember forever, an F3 tornado with estimated winds of 158 to 206 miles per hour tore right through downtown. That tornado claimed 5 lives and injured 79. Now, while strong tornadoes are rare in West Michigan, it's important to remember that they do still happen here. Keith?
Thanks, Colin. Of course, everyone knows how dangerous tornadoes are, but as we just mentioned in Michigan, they're really not very common. A much more common threat from storms, lightning. And coming up, words of advice from a West Michigan man who took a direct hit and thought he was dead.
You're watching News Channel 3's Storm Ready Special, sponsored by Roach, the big name in roofing.
Welcome back. You know, of all the threats that thunderstorms pose, straight line winds, flooding rain, tornadoes, perhaps the most underappreciated is lightning because it's present in every thunderstorm. And as one West Michigan man can tell you from personal experience, that threat is very real.
That's when the lightning was just zapping.
24-year-old Brennan Bittner of Coloma enjoys playing with his son, Bannon, who's about to turn 3. For Brennan, moments like these are extra special because he knows he's lucky to be alive. It's been nearly 8 years since Brennan was struck by lightning.
For me and what I've experienced was an insane loud noise, and everything went white. And then to me, that was it.
Brennan and his mother, brother, and a family friend were enjoying a vacation day at the beach on Marco Island in southwest Florida. All was going well until a thunderstorm moved ashore from the Gulf of Mexico. It didn't take long for Brennan's mom, Lori, to decide it was time to run for cover.
Then lightning just went boom, 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 right next to us. I'm like, we got to get to shelter. We got to go.
They began running, but they didn't get far. Before they could get off the beach, a horrified Lori saw lightning strike just ahead of her, right where her two sons, Brennan and Connor, and their friend Felicia were running.
The lightning hit like right where Brennan was at, and Connor and Felicia went flying about 10 foot to the right, and Brennan just dropped to his knees and face planted, almost like a video game.
Lori thought her son, Brennan, was dead. Brennan says he thought he was dead too.
I remember pulling my head out of the sand, and I couldn't hear. Everything was ringing. I couldn't hear anything. Everything was ringing. I could barely move.
But Brennan was alive. His brother carried him to a convenience store across the street from the beach, where paramedics who had rushed to the scene began treating him. This is a picture of Brennan being treated minutes after being struck. Brennan says that experience changed him forever, and he has an important message about being outside when a thunderstorm is near.
I was explaining to my friends they're out in the storm, and I tried to tell them, like, there's a reason, you know, I'm freaking out about you guys being out there. You know, we're by the water and everything. We got lakes here, and my message to them basically was just, it's not a game, you know, and I don't want it happening to them. I don't want it happening to other people.
You know, the most important lightning safety tip is to go inside a safe structure anytime you hear thunder. Let that storm pass. And if you are outside, stay away from tall trees and structures. And remember this, pavilions, gazebos, covered picnic structures, they are not safe in a thunderstorm. Will?
Yeah, Keith, on average, around 90 people lose their life each year due to flooding. And in 2018, the historic crest along the Kalamazoo River caused over $2 million in damage. More than 200 homes and businesses were flooded in and around downtown Kalamazoo. This video in 2018, still fresh in the minds of so many across West Michigan. It remains the highest water level ever measured along the river. Remember the phrase, turn around, don't drown. 2 feet of swift moving water can quickly sweep away most vehicles. And a majority of flood related deaths, they happen in that way. Folks driving through flooded roads. If you have or live in a flood prone area, monitor the forecast and have an evacuation route. Don't press your luck. Get to higher ground before things get out of control.